Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm going to be doing a Ragnaraika deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is an extremely interesting deck that actually revolves around three different types of monsters: insect, plant, and reptile, which is super cool, and I've included some awesome tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name skipped in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Evil Seed. This card is your main starter for the deck, and definitely a 3-of in the build, as you can special summon this card from your hand by sending an insect, plant, or reptile monster from your hand to the grave. And if this card is normally special summon, you can add to your hand up to 2 different Ragnaraika cards that are banished or in your deck. Except another copy of this card, then banish a card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters the rest of the turn except insect, plant, or reptile. We then play 3 copies of Samurai Beetle. Samurai Beetle is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card has the ability that you can special summon this card from your hand by placing one of your banished insect, plant, or reptile monsters on the bottom of the deck, which your copy of Evil Seed basically sets this card up, which is so cool. This card also has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard as a material for a Ragnaraika Link monster, you can target a level 4 or lower insect, plant, or reptile monster in the grave and special summon it in defense position, which is going to help you link climb into other monsters. We then play a single copy of Armored Lizard. Armored Lizard is just a good 1-of in the build. This card is a little bit of a break, but you have to play it as an additional name in the build. This card has the ability that you can special summon this card from your hand by banishing an insect, plant, or reptile monster from the graveyard. And it also has the ability that you can discard an insect, plant, or reptile monster and then target a face-up monster that your opponent controls except an insect, plant, or reptile monster and return it back to the hand, which is a pretty good ability, but this card is just a good 1-of in the deck. We then play, for our Adotic package we're playing in the deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Nunu. Nunu is really good as a 2-of in the build because this card has the ability you can send this card from your hand to the grave to send a dark reptile monster from your deck to the grave. And if you control no monsters or you only control Adotic monsters, you can special summon this card in the graveyard but banish when it leaves the field. Also, while it's on the field, you cannot special summon monsters except for reptile monsters, which is not that big of a deal because it's going to get off the field really quickly. We then play 3 copies of Noya. Noya is really good as a 3-of in the build, and this card is absolutely insane because you can send this card from your hand to the grave to send a light reptile monster from the deck to the grave, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Adotic spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability to be able to search your copy of Daybreak or your copy of Water Lily, which is just really nice to be able to do. We then play a single copy of Adotic Light. Adotic Light is a really good combo piece in the build because this card is the ability, if it's in the graveyard, you can tribute a monster to special summon this card. Then your opponent can special summon 1 monster from their graveyard but negate its effects. And if this card is special summon, you can target a level 4 lower Adotic monster in the graveyard and special summon it but banish when it leaves the field, which is a great effect to be able to bring back your copy of Noya to your side of the field so you can actually search your copy of Water Lily or Daybreak. We then play a single copy of Night Sword Serpent. This card is really insane as a 1-of in the deck because if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you just get to special summon this card back to your side of the field, which is a really cool effect to be able to use this card with your copy of Snake Rain, and it'll just instantly special summon itself. We then play a single copy of Serpentine Princess. This card works with all of our Ragnaraika Link monsters because this card has the ability, if this face-up card is returned directly from the field back to your deck, you just get to special summon any level 3 or lower monster from the deck, meaning this card will actually activate in the deck, which is super cool. We then play 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom. Lone Fire is really good as a 3-of to be able to just instantly special summon your copy of Evil Seed directly from the deck. And this card is basically just an insane starter for the build. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the deck, basically just to stop your opponent from touching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is definitely a 1-of in the build just to stop your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. And then play a single copy of 1 for 1. 1 for 1 is really good in the deck to help you summon out your copy of Evil Seed to your side of the field. And then play a single copy of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is really good in the deck as a 1-of to be able to use to get your copy of Talons, or even your copy of Water Lily or Snake Rain, which is absolutely insane. This card is really good in the deck as a 1-of. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talents. Triple Tactics Talents is great in the deck as a 2-of because this card lets you either draw 2, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at your opponent's hand, choose a card from it, and shuffle it into the deck. And for a more budget option, you could just play 3 copies of Talents if you don't have a copy of Thrust. But Thrust in the deck is really good because it can help you get to your copy of Snake Rain. But basically, you can just play these right here instead of the copy of Thrust, which is an option for you guys if you don't have Thrust. We then play a single copy of Adodic Daybreak. Daybreak is really good as an additional card in the deck because this card just gets you a bunch of tokens out on your side of the field. And this card is ability to tribute a reptile monster, and for every 2 levels that monster had that was tributed on the field, you get to special summon 1 Adodic token to your side of the field. That's a reptile dark level 2, 0 attack and 0 defense. And during your main phase, you can actually banish this card in the graveyard and target one of your banished reptile monsters and shuffle in the deck. And then you can actually send a reptile monster from the deck to the graveyard, which is an insane ability. This card is definitely a 1-of in the build, and it's just really, really powerful. We then play 2 copies of Water Lily. Water Lily is a searchable Foolish Burial for the deck, with the ability that you can actually send a reptile monster from your deck to the grave, and if you have 5 or more reptile monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can actually special summon a reptile monster from the graveyard, which is a really cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Snake Rain. Snake Rain is insane. You discard a card and then send 4 reptile monsters from your deck to the graveyard. If this card resolves, you win the duel essentially, because you're going to get so much advantage off this card. It's insane. And this card is so powerful in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ragnaraika Bloom. This card is amazing in the build. It has the ability to insect, plant, and reptile monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense. Also, all other monsters on the field lose 300 attack and defense. And during your main phase, you can activate one of these effects to add a Ragnaraika monster from your deck to your hand, then discard a card, or special summon one of your Ragnaraika monsters from your hand, graveyard, or banishment in defense position, which is a really cool effect. This card is a Monster Reborn and a Rhoda, which is so cool. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Ragnaraika Hunting Dance. Hunting Dance is really cool as a 1-of because this card is actually searchable off your copy of Monk Mantis, and it's just really cool in the deck because it lets you target cards your opponent controls up to the number of different monster types among the link monsters that you control that are insect, plant, or reptile, and destroy them. Which is really cool because you can actually get a pop 3 off this card's effect. And if a face-up insect, plant, or reptile monster you control is destroyed by battle by card effect while this card's in the grave, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card and then target one of your opponent's monsters and then destroy it, which is a really cool effect just to pop an additional card. And then like a single copy of Planet Pollutant. Planet Pollutant is really good for the alien monsters we're running into the extract. And then this card is really cool because you actually tribute an alien monster and destroy all face-up monsters with A counters that your opponent controls, and until the end of your opponent's third turn after this card's activation, you place one A counter on each monster they summon, which is a pretty cool ability. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is great as a 3-of in the build, basically just to use this card to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Stag Sovereign. This card is actually a Link 5, which is so cool. This card is a really cool ability if a monster is special summoned from your opponent's deck or extra deck, except during the damage step, you can actually destroy 2 monsters on the field. And all of your Ragnaraika monsters that are Link monsters actually share a really cool ability. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target an insect, plant, or reptile monster you control, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, special summon this card. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except insect, plant, or reptile monsters, which is insane how easy it is to swarm the board with all sorts of Ragnaraika Link monsters. You can play a single copy of Chain Coals. Chain Coals is really cool in the deck as a 1-up, because this card has the ability, if your opponent activates a monster effect, except during a damage step, you can actually activate this ability that neither player can activate the effects of monsters in the hand this turn, basically locking down hand traps, which is absolutely insane. This card is really good as a 1-up in the build, but you usually climb into this card really easily, so 1 is really all you need. We then play a single copy of Mantis Monk. This card actually searches the trap card Hunting Dance with the ability that you can banish 2 insect, plant, or reptile monsters from the graveyard to add a Ragnaraika trap from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Skeletal Soldier, which has probably one of my favorite artworks of recent, and this card is so cool. It has the ability that you can actually target a Ragnaraika monster in your graveyard in special summon defense position, which is a really cool effect just to instantly bring back a monster to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of the Plant Link 4. This card is just a really good option to be able to make in the deck, and I really like this card in the deck because during the main phase quick effect, you can target an effect monster that your opponent controls and take damage equal to its attack, and if you did take damage, return that monster back to the hand. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can actually banish 2 or more Link monsters in your graveyard whose combined Link rating equal exactly 4, and then special summon this card but banish and release the field, which is a pretty cool effect just to be able to bring this card back to your side of the field. I really like that effect on this card, and it's just a really good option to be able to make because it is a plant. We then play a single copy of Cosmic Slicer. Cosmic Slicer is really good as a 1-of in the build, as monsters that your opponent control with A counters are changed to defense solution. Also, neither player can activate their effects, and you can only use the following effects this card once per turn. If this card is link sign, you can add 1 card from your deck to your hand that has an effect to place A counters, meaning you can instantly get to your copy of Planet Pollutant using this card. For our 1 alien monster, we're playing a single copy of Alien Shock Trooper M-Frame. This card is just a really good option to be able to make in the deck, especially since you do need an alien. We then play a single copy of Haggard Lizardos. Haggard Lizardos is really cool as a 1-of because you can actually banish a monster from your face-up field or graveyard with 2,000 or less attack, and then target a face-up monster on the field and makes attack become equal to the original attack of that monster banished to activate this effect until the end of the turn. Then if you banished a monster that was originally a reptile, you get to draw a card, and since you do have Snake Rain in the deck, you're going to be able to put reptiles in the graveyard extremely easily, and it's just really good to be able to use in the build. Speaking of reptiles, we also play a single copy of King of the Feral Imps. This card is really good to be able to search out reptiles from the deck. Play a single copy of Black Ship of Corn. This card is really insane in the build because it's a plant. I didn't think I would ever see this card played again, but it's really insane because it's a plant monster, so you can make it as a rank 4. It has the ability once per turn, you can detach a material in this card, target a face-up monster opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card's, and send to the grave. And if you do, inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent, so it even comes up in time, which is really insane. We then play a single copy of the Rika Queen. Rika Queen is really insane because this card has a really cool ability that if this card has XZ materials and it's tributed, you can special summon a rank 5 or higher plant XZ monster from your X deck or from your graveyard, and then attach this card as a material. So you're going to always summon at your copy of your Sacred Tree Beast, which is a Walking Negate, which is why we play these 2 cards in the deck. And then finally, we play a single copy of Typhon, which is the only non-plant reptile or insect in the entire deck, but it's just too good not to play as an option. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have not played a Ragnaraika yet, definitely give this deck a try, and comment down below what spicy text you're playing deck or what engine you're playing. I'm going to be doing a bunch of different deck profiles on this deck soon because there's so many cool ways to be able to play this, but I really like playing it with a Dodic and the very small Dodic engine in the build, and it's just really, really fun, especially for the artwork. These cards are gorgeous. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.